As we're doing this final tour today, I did want to talk to you just a little bit about the importance of faith to the people here. It's largely a Roman Catholic area. Only about 10% of South Sudan is Christian, but a heavy population of that is here with the Roman Catholic Church. And this is a church that we first came to in our very first visit to South Sudan. We had just come back for some slaves out of slavery, and we were bringing them back to this place. And the people were celebrating. It was a Sunday morning, and they were really happy to see us. It was the first time we had ever met them. But they were in a church that was all falling apart, and it was really, really difficult for them. So as a result, people have been asking if we could help to rebuild the church, and it's just not something we've been able to make a priority. But you can see now that things are beginning to happen, and it's not necessarily all good. This church is all cracked, and the foundation is cracked, and it's a very rustic place. It's about 80 years old. So it's an old building, and it's survived a lot. And this is the one I was telling you about, that the raiders had come in here and the people were hiding in the church. But the fathers and the sisters stayed. They would not leave, and they protected the people. So although the raiders shot up the building with guns and everything else, including, I think I told you, the statue of the Virgin Mary at the front, the people have soldiered on here and kept going. So this is one of those interesting situations in which the community leaders themselves, not people from the West, but the community leaders themselves have determined that the church is absolutely fundamental as one of their institutions to what's going on here. So they have decided with their own meager resources that they will try to fix up this church. And so here's what you have. And so the parching the outside, or the inside of it, covering up the bricks. The problem is, as you'll see in a minute, is that the cracks are still underneath all of that. And so I think our worry is, you know, the problem is still that the people want a building in which they can worship in and come to in times of crisis. But the building itself is not, as a result of this renovation, is not going to be any stronger than it was before. Now, up there at the very top, you can see that's the statue of the Virgin Mary, the one that was all shot up. And they've covered that up while they're doing the renovations. But the people want it left there the way that it is. Because they remember those terrible, terrible days and what happened, and they really, really appreciate that the church stuck with them through it all. But look here, this is a special section here that people would sit in during Mass, the commissioners and others. But look at the wall, look at the window. That's the stuff that they're covering over. So what it means is, although it looks a lot prettier, it doesn't change the fact that structurally it's now unsound. I don't think there's anything we can do about that as CAS. But I did want to talk to you. Here's the pulpit. It's rustic. It's just some mud with some wood thrown on top. Here's the high table from which Mass is celebrated. You know, this is a building that's really run down and in terrible shape, but it houses the spirit of the people. And these are still people who don't have much. And so to them, God is important. To them, the church is important. And I think it's very, very important that people back in Canada understand that when you come out to these farther reaches of the world, the harder reaches of the world, you continually find all the time people of faith, of various faiths, Muslim faith, Christian faith, various denominations and others. They are here. They're the ones that seem to have this thing within themselves where they can make sacrifices that are beyond what we would normally be able to in Canada. And it's faith that propels them in that direction. I really think that that's important. Now, it might not be so important in Canada because of materialism, so on and so forth. Our churches are slowly emptying as people don't seem to feel like they need God anymore. But here they have no choice. To them, God is important. That might change as peace comes and as the referendum is signed and things begin to change. But for these people, God is in a huge part of their lives. And I think we have a responsibility as humanitarians to recognize that. And so when we come here with our teams, we always stay down at the end there. As you can see, that's the building that we stay in. When we first came here, that building and this building, which is the church, were the only buildings that were here in this whole area, permanent structures. That's all changing now, but we feel the responsibility along with the people to help to continue to try to show support for the mission and others. So we're not ashamed of that at all. We think that these people, the church itself kept these people alive, but more than that, it kept giving them hope until such a time as they could move on more in prosperity, but also, more importantly, that they could believe in peace, struggle with it over all these years, and then finally come to the point of it. That moment happened. That moment happened, on the 9th as the referendum was instigated and people began to sign. It will end on Saturday in another couple of days, and then the people will have their own peaceful future, we hope, to move on. But they're still going to require hope because there's all sorts of needs that are coming here. So I just think Canadians need to know faith is important. Maybe not to many people, but to the people here, it's fundamental to their very existence. And I think it's important for us as humanitarians to recognize that fact and recognize that the people who are out here all the time, unlike people like me who only come every once in a while, these people are out here, people of faith, making a massive, massive difference in people's lives and keeping them believing that a better world is ahead.